Welcome back, besties. It's me, your BFF of Literature, Tanisha, and I am the host of Wellness Through Reading. This episode is going to be a long one. It's going to be a good one. I'm going to do a full book review on Rebecca Yarros' The Fourth Ring. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, then you probably have seen me post about this book all the time because I am stuck on it. I can't get off of it. I have been waiting for the sequel to come out because, Lord, this is a good one. I'm more of a romance reader myself, so fantasy wasn't something that I thought I would ever get into, but this book, I'm telling you, if you're a romance reader, this is a fantasy story for romance readers. More on that in a little bit. But I'm telling you, it's so good. It has dragons, it has magic, it has enemies to lovers, lovers to enemies. It has everything you'd ever want in a book. A corrupt political system that makes you question, are we really on the right side? You got funny, banters between the characters. You got, is Dane a really good childhood friend looking out for Violet's best interest? Or is he just an overly protective, just misogynistic pig that you just want to strangle? Is Zayden a really good person? Or does his secrets just, it's a little bit too, keeping way too many secrets, sir? Yeah, you morally grand, you good looking and all that, but I'm still on the fence about Zayden. Still on the fence about him. So, and Violet, my homegirl, that is my friend. In my head, that's my homegirl, I gotta say. Because she uses all the resources that she has available to her to get her task done, to be able to live and survive and get through this war college that she never really wanted to go to anyway. But she's killing it. Literally. So, let's dive in. All these questions and more will be answered somewhat. My interpretation of it. So let's go. Okay, y'all, there is so much to cover and so much time, so let's just get into it. I'm so glad for you guys tuning in to today's episode of Wellness Through Reading. Y'all gonna love this. I'm looking forward to it. And so here we go. So, a couple of weeks ago, I did a brief book review on the first 4 chapters of this. So we're just going to get started right now with Chapter 5. Chapter 5, Violet Sorrengail has made it across the parapet. She's in the Rider Squadron. She's wearing all black because that's what Riders do. Riders wear all black head to toe. I guess because, badassery and all that fun jazz. So we're at our very first battle brief. But before we dive into that, I also want to note that each chapter of the book starts off with a quote, either from a book that talks about Dragon Riders, either from a battle briefing that describes a certain period of the Navarre's history. And in this chapter of the book, we have a snippet, an official brief for King Tari by General Lilith Sorrengail. And General Lilith Sorrengail basically states that she does not believe that the children of the rebellious leaders should watch their parents be executed. Naturally, I would think that would be something that most people would agree with. But no, they do that anyway. They completely ignore her and go out anyway. As a reader, when I first started reading this book, I thought General Lilith Sorrengail, who is the mother of Violet Sorrengail, was basically the villain in this, because she's forcing her daughter to go against what she always wanted, was to be a scribe, and forcing her into the Rider Squadron. It's giving villain era, if you won't mind. But hearing this, it just shows you that she does have a heart, and there is a reason. That's something that always kind of stuck with me. There's a reason Violet was chosen to be in the Rider Squadron. How that reason? We just gotta keep reading to find out why that is. That was the question that was always in my mind. Why is Violet in the Rider Squadron then? If not to punishment, if not to shame. Because I honestly don't think that Lilith hates her daughter. Even though Violet kind of feels that way, I don't think she does. There's a reason. So let's keep reading. Breathe, Tanisha, breathe. I get really excited when I got a book I love. So let's keep going. So chapter 5, we're in our first battle brief. Battle brief is just that, a brief of the battle that's currently going on. And right now what they're talking about is the wards, the powers that are keeping all the evil entities out of Navarre are faltering at this point. No one knows why. The dragons that they have, the number of dragons that they have is still the same as it's always been. But for some reason, it's weakening. And when the wards weaken, it's letting all the evil entities in. Now, the reason why the wards, or basically like a better way to explain the wards, is basically like a dome. A powerful dome that sits around Navarre that protects it from all the evil entities like the Ven like the Griffin Riders and all that from Poor Emil, which is the evil side. Case in point, if you haven't already, go listen to the first episode of this season, because it goes all through chapters 1 and 4. We discuss all that. Then come back if you don't have no idea what I'm talking about. But for all y'all to do, let's keep going. So, they're faltering, and it's not good, and it's letting all the evil entities in, because the reason why those wards are so important is that the evil entities are essentially can't block into it when it's at its full strength. But now that they're weakening, more attacks on major outposts are happening, so every dragon rider is needed, just like Violet. Now, mind you, though, Violet describes that she knows all the answers. She's actually helping Rihanna answer out a few questions herself, and gets caught by Professor Markham, who is leading battle briefing as well. But here's the thing, they're only told what the people want them to know. That's really what we get out of the first half of this section, is that they're not really being told the entire picture. So you really get a first glimpse of the fact that there's a little bit of nefarious issues going on in this government. Why won't you tell us what's really going on? Why are you only telling us bits and pieces of the story? That is very... So again, we gotta keep on reading it, because now I'm hooked. We got some love issues going on, and now we got some political issues going on here as well too. So let's keep on reading, shall we? So first half we really talk about battle briefs, and then the next half we talk about are the battles. Not really the battles, but the, how do you say this? So today is assessment day, and it's basically a day where all like the writers, first year, second year, third years, are all basically going to the mat, and they get set up occasionally with hand-to-hand combat. This is because no dragon really wants a rider who can't defend themselves. Yes, they're dragon riders, and they use their dragons majority time during battle, but case in point, there's going to be times where they're going to need to get off their dragons and, go into stealth mode, and they got to defend themselves. So they fight each other on these mats. And today is assessment day, so there's no knives, there's no weaponry, other than that, just hand-to-hand physical hitting. Violet is like, my girl Violet's resourceful, she's smart, she's everything like that, but she's not the strongest when it comes to hand-to-hand combat, so she's a little nervous naturally. Mind you, her bones also do break, and ligaments also tear very easily. She has a disorder, and that's why that happens. So she's nervous, naturally. I would be too. And she should be, because this girl named Imogen she breaks the rules, uses her signet power on the mat, which you're not supposed to do, and ends up snapping my girl's arm. So already Imogen is on the do not like list. And that's the end of chapter 5. Onward to chapter 6. So Dane, the ever-protective best friend, is rushing our dear Violet off to the healer's quadrant to get healed up, to get bandaged up, because her shoulder's been ripped off. Now mind you, Violet is not the only person who gets injured on this day. It's the writer's quadrant, everybody gets injured, and Violet just gets injured more than usual. But Dane, being the overly protective best friend, just begs her actually to try and switch quadrants yet again. He did it first on parapet day, and now he's doing it again on assessment day. And so he's telling her, please, just switch quadrants, it'll be easier for you. And she's like, no, I'm here and I want to be. She doesn't really say that. She says, I'm here because I have to be. That's what he tells him to get off her back. But reality is that Violet really wants to be here. I feel like she's starting to find her groove here. It's only been a couple of days, but I think she wants to be, and she's really discovering that this is where she's supposed to be. And she doesn't understand why Dane doesn't get it, which happens a lot between this relationship. So going back to the mats thing. So basically the hand-to-hand combat on the mats that happens every few days, a couple of weeks, and she's going to have to figure out how she's going to be able to survive this. Again, my girl is Violet, and she's resourceful, and she's going to figure it out. So she gets back to what we call the barracks. Now, all the first years sleep in these barracks. When you become a rider, you get your own separate room. But again, they all sleep in the same room, women in one, men in the other. When she gets back to her personal bunk that she's been sleeping in, she finds a letter. And it's a letter from her sister Mira. Love her some Mira. And she's basically gives her Brennan, her elder brother who died in battle, his journal about how he survived the Riders Quadrant. And so now she has a journal, she has a guide as to how she's going to get through this. And so she's feeling a little more confident now. She wasn't feeling so confident in the beginning, but now it's like, you know what? I have a guide, I have a journal, I have all these resources that's going to get me through this, and I'm going to use them. So, chapter 7. So, in the beginning of this chapter, we get an addendum to one of the Code of Conduct's rules. It basically states that no one with a rebellion relic groups can congregate in a group of 3 or more. Otherwise, it will be considered an act of treason or a declaration of war. So again, you get a little bit more of the political side of these things, like what's going on here. I mean, it's enough that you subdue them, that you're forcing these kids into the right quadrant. It's enough that you're doing all this. Now you're not going to let them congregate, you're not going to let them talk. Like, what is this government so afraid of? What's going on here? So you already feel the tension that's going on in the atmosphere of this government. So then we go into the chapter, and Violet's up in a tree somewhere. So we're like, okay. She's grew up basically at Basque-Rothwell College. Because her mom is a general, so she basically knows the lay of the land, essentially. So she knows where everything is, and we find out that she's picking berries, picking dried berries, picking all these different fruits and whatnot. So I'm like, what is she, a squirrel? That's what I thought when I first read this. Then just as she's getting ready to descend down the tree, she sees a couple of hidden figures. So she stops and she hides herself in the tree. So she's down on the ground, she's looking over at this scene, and all these people keep congregating up, and they're pulling back the hoodies, and one of them is Xaden. And it's all a bunch of people with rebellion relics of different years. It's first years, second years, and third years. And so they're all congregating, and basically Xaden's like, okay, how many y'all doing, who's doing what, how y'all feeling about the briefing, and basically he's just checking in with them, making sure that they're okay, and asking them, what can I do to help? And it's like, wow, I mean, yeah, he's giving Violet a hard time, but you see that he has a heart. You see that he really wants to help the people of his providence. And so it's like, oh, that seems so sweet. But, I mean, he's got a rough edge to him, too. One verse, he was like, I just want to go home. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. I saw somebody's neck getting snapped and dying. I just want to go home. I'm scared. And Ryerson was like, look, there's nothing I can do about that. We're stuck here. So you are going to have to, basically he tells him that you're basically going to die if you don't want to help yourself. And so one of the other people, Bodhi, who's his cousin, basically, and he's like, wow, cousin, you can try and be a little nicer. It's like, look, I don't have time to waste helping people who don't want to help themselves. So you guys see the hard shell that comes across. It's like he's basically the eldest of all of them. He was the first one to get across the quadrant, get across the parapet, make it through his first and second year, bond to a dragon, and essentially rise the ranks into wing leader. And so I think that's very sweet. I mean, he's looking out for his people. But it's like, why y'all doing? Well, obviously they have to be in secret, because again, beginning in the chapter 3, if they were ever caught, that's an act of treason. So they have to meet in secret. They gotta do this in groups of 3. So after the meeting's over, they're like, okay, y'all disperse, go in groups of 3, go back to bed. So y'all leave. So Violet calms down. It's okay. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna make it through this. Ooh, before I go into that, one question that was brought up in the group is like, okay, who gets to kill the Sorengale girl? And so she's like, oh, crap. So she's basically looking down at a group of people who hate her guts. And honestly, it's understandable. I mean, her mother basically oversaw the execution of their parents. And basically watched them, the Violet Sorengale, watched, not only executed their parents, but had their children watch as their parents were being executed. So that would make me want to hate somebody. That would make me want revenge. Imogen, especially, because she's the one who ripped her shoulder off in the previous chapter, she wants revenge. She watched her mother and sister executed with Lilibet Sorengale's dragon. So they want revenge. And then Xaden's like, no, I will handle her. Y'all don't touch her. I made myself clear. So Violet's like, crap, and I made an enemy out of this man that she's very attracted to. More on that later. But yeah, it's like, oh dear, that's not good. So again, afterwards, they all disperse, go back to their beds. There you go. So Violet takes a deep breath. She's like, oh, thank heavens. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to live. I will not die today. That's like her mantra. I will not die today. Climbs down on the tree, and then all of a sudden she hears this noise, and she feels an arm wrap around her neck, And of course, it's Xaden. And of course, he heard her. How did he hear her? She was as quiet as a mouse. What we learn in this exchange and the talking is that he's a shadow wielder. One of the main reasons why dragons need riders to begin with is so they can unlock their full power potential. And in doing so, it gives their riders what they call a signet power. It's basically a power that enhances their abilities and also gives them just added strength. So the stronger the dragon, the stronger the signet power. And Xaden's signet power is that he's a shadow wielder. He can manipulate the shadows all around us and manipulate them into doing whatever it is he wants to do. That's a damn powerful signet power. Whew. Scary as almighty goodness, you must admit. Because basically, he can also listen in on people's conversations in the shadows. I mean, that's a powerful freaking signet. More on that later. Because I got my own ideas about that, but I want to keep talking about this first. So Xaden basically like, what, Dane hasn't warned you not to get, lost in the shadows and all this kind of creepy stuff. So basically they're standing there looking at you like, so what, you're not going to tell me for being out late? It's like, no. You're going to tell on me for congregating my people? She's like, no, you're trying to help them out. Why would I rat on you? So they both kind of have a mutual respect for each other. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's tension there, a lot of sexual tension, more on that later. But there's a respect level. She sees that he's not doing anything wrong. He's just trying to help his people out. And she would never fault him for that. Which I think is admirable. And he's looking at her like, you know what? I don't know why you're out here, but if you're not going to, you ain't going to snitch on me. I ain't going to snitch on you. We're going to keep it moving. And so they depart. And that's the end of chapter 7. Onward to chapter 8. So, the beginning of chapter 8, we get this quote from Effective Uses of Wild and Cultivated Herbs by Captain Lawrence Medina. And so we realize that the reason why Violet was out there collecting all these nuts and berries is essentially, and why she was doing breakfast duty, why she took on breakfast duty, basically serving the breakfast before all the riders and whatnot, is because she plans to poison her opponents before they hit the mat. Now, here's the thing. In the book, in the journal that Mira gave her, Brennan, basically she reads about how she can find out about who she's going to be competing with. Because apparently there's a scoreboard that all the professors use. So she found out where it is, and so she can find out who she's competing with. And in the morning, poison their breakfast. That way they get sick on the mat, so she doesn't have to really fight them as hard, or she can weaken them to the point where she can fight back and it's not overpowering her, so she doesn't die. Some people might say that's a cheap shot. I say she's winning the battle before the war even starts. I say, hey, whatever you got to do to get home from this hellish school of war calls with dragons and people trying to kill you, if I gotta poison some people to get through, poison whoever you need to. I'm with it, girl. And also, that's just smart as hell. Can I just say, I was just proud. I was like, yes, do whatever you need to do to get through. That's how I feel. So, after she poisons the people at breakfast and lunchtime too, we are now in our next battle brief, where basically Professor Kiori is going over the different type of dragons and how to approach them. Like a red dragon, never look them in the eye. Green dragons, be strong and assertive. And all this information becomes incredibly important because threshing is upon us. Now, threshing starts October 1st. And basically what threshing is the day where you get to meet your dragon. You get to walk out into this field and you find your dragon, and you try not to get burned in the process. Easy, right? Yeah. More on that later. So, we have red scorpion tails. We have, who prefer if you approach them from the left and the front. These are all key things that we know about dragons. That way, you can avoid getting burned, and that you show favor. That you show that you're respecting them because, they have the power to incinerate you. So, they basically go over how many dragons there are, how many are willing to bond, how best ways to bond to them, and all that fun jazz. However, one dragon that I particularly love is Sigale, and that's actually Xaden's dragon. So Sigale is what they call the navy blue dragon. Blue dragons are very rare and they're very powerful, and Sigale is the most powerful of them all. She's a blue daggetail, the rarest of the blues. And if you see her without the rider, basically without Xaden, basically run. She is ruthless. She does what she wants, whenever she wants, however she wants. And basically, she doesn't follow the rules at all and actually broke one of the rules when bonding to Xaden because apparently, in the rules that dragons consider law, she bonded the relative of one of her previous riders, which is typically forbidden. But again, who's to tell a dragon what to do? She's kind of like my hero in that regard. I like that about her. And again, it's just interesting that a dragon like that would bond to a rebellious leader's son. It just lets you know that the dragons, it actually states the dragons have their own laws that they use. So do those laws come in contact with the human laws? Do those laws sometimes contradict those laws? We don't know what goes on behind the veil. Interesting stuff. Interesting questions. So, we're back to the mat now. And again, Charlotte's being challenged. And honestly, she's not making a lot of good. She meets Rihanna, she meets Riddick, she meets Sawyer, who are in her squad. And basically, the people who are in your squad are guaranteed not to be the ones to kill you because that's against their code. But everybody else, it's fair game. And especially this one dude named Jack Barlow. Now, this a-hole, oh my goodness, just from hello, has never liked Violet, has wanted to kill her from the beginning. He's sadistic, he's a bully, he's everything mean, nasty, and rude. He's just a flat-out villain, and we honestly have no idea why he is the way that he is. Maybe his mother didn't love him enough, I don't know, but this dude just, ugh. And he is out to get Violet. And because of that, a lot of other people in the wing think that she's a liability to the wing because of this dude. So they want to kill her too. She's not making a lot of friends, like I said. But she puts, she's, like I said, she's poisoning her opponent. And she's winning these battles. Hey, again, whatever you got to do to get through, I'm here for. So she's putting all these poisons in these people's breakfast, in their lunch, in their dinner. And she's winning these challenges one by one by one. And then one particular challenge, actually, she fed the food to her too early, and the girl got sick before she could make it to the mat. So just as Violet's getting ready to walk off the mat, guess who decides to jump on it? You get it. Xaden Ryerson stepped onto the mat. Ooh. So the beginning of this chapter, chapter 9 now, is an addendum to the Book of Brennan. Violet Sorrengail. I will not die today. Like I said, that is her mantra. That's what helps get her through the day. That's what helps get her through this college. And she's like, I will not die today, as Xaden Ryerson steps onto the mat. And it's like, there's nothing I can do about this dude. It's 6'4". She's like maybe 5'3" at best. It's a very uneven match. And honestly, we're at chapter 9. So, as a reader, you basically know he's not going to kill her. But we know that there's a reason why he's challenging her. And so as they're fighting, as they're going back and forth, we realize that he's actually kind of sort of training her. Violet can't wield a sword. She can't hold a crossbow. She's not that strong. So she has daggers that she uses. And she's very fast with them too. But Xaden's faster. Obviously, he's the more mature fighter of the two. And he's basically the best fighter at the whole school. So yeah, so basically he's disarming her one by one with all these daggers. And basically tells her, gets real close to her ear and gets her in a chokehold, so close to her ear and tells her that basically he knows that she's poisoning these people. And hey, he's all over here for it. But she needs to learn how to fight. And so what he's teaching her basically how to fight back. And he's teaching her, look, this point right here is how you kill someone. This point right here is how you do this. And like, he's really helping her. This is your sworn enemy and you're helping her. Why? Again, the tension between these two is electric. So, Dane and Violet, after this is all over, they're talking, and Dane's like, wow, I can't believe he let you live. And he's like, yeah, me too. And so Dane once again tries to convince Violet, please, Violet, you're too weak, you're frail, you're not going to be able to make it. And he tells him that he went to Professor Markham and basically said that I have made a way for you to leave the Rider's Quadrant and sneak back into the Scribe Quadrant where you're supposed to be. But Violet, at this point, even though she's getting her butt kicked every other week, she likes it here. She doesn't want to admit it, but she really does. Something about this place is making her feel more empowered. And, even though she's feeling this, she doesn't really want to say it to Dane, because Dane's her childhood best friend, and Dane would never steer her wrong. So she's really starting to doubt herself, too, though. Word to the wise. At this point in the book, I gotta say, Dane is starting to work on my nerve a little bit. Like, you see her, she's not doing the best, but she's not doing the worst either. She's making it. She's living. She's surviving. Why can't you just teach her how to fight, like Zayden's doing? But no, he tells her to quit at the first, brisk of the wind. And she's saying, no, I want to stay and fight. He's like, I just don't think you'll make it. I don't think you'll survive. She's basically trying to scare her into leaving. I don't know about y'all, but that does not sound like a good friend to me. So she says, you know what? I'll think about it. Just to basically end the conversation, I'll think about it. And in woman speak, when I say I'll think about something, it basically means no. For all you men out there who didn't know that. So that brings us to chapter 10. And basically this is paid, and we begin with a quote from the Book of Brennan. Don't underestimate the challenge of the gauntlet. It's designed to test your balance, strength, and agility. The times don't really matter. Only that you make it to the top. Reach for the ropes when you have to. Coming in last is better than coming in dead. So basically the gauntlet, all it's designed for is to figure out, can you stay on a dragon? Can you fight on a dragon? Can you maintain your balance on a dragon? And if you can't do that, can't do it on this here gauntlet, you damn sure ain't gonna do it on a big old dragon. Now, you're probably thinking, what in the world is a gauntlet? If you've ever seen American Ninja obstacle course, or you've ever watched any of those, like a Survivor obstacle course, basically that's what it is. It's a bunch of ropes, it's a bunch of levees going up and down, it's a bunch of wheels spinning, it's a balance beam, it's a lot of weight, and it also, at the very end, it's a bigger wall where you basically have to climb, and you're being timed on it, and you gotta get up there as fast as you can. And again, Brennan's basically saying, look, just get up there as fast as you can. Don't worry about getting up there first. Don't worry about getting up there. As long as you get up there, and you survive, it don't really matter. Just get on up there. And of course, they're practicing going up and down this gauntlet. And they do lose a lot of cadets this way because it is again, it's a war college. So it's a very dangerous and deadly obstacle course. And Violet just sees one of her friends fall to her death, and it's obviously very traumatic for her. Oh, yes. And that really shakes Violet's confidence. She really starts to question and think, am I really worthy enough to be here? Even if I do survive the gauntlet, and I survive presentation day, and will I survive threshing? Will I survive it? And she starts to doubt herself, and she starts letting Dane's words really get to her. And so she packs her bag, and it looks like she's getting ready to leave, but then as she's leaving, she sees a dark, shadowy figure, and it's Garrick, one of Zayden's friends, Bodhi, his cousin, and Zayd himself. So they're walking out in the middle of the night, and their dragons are in the distance, and it's like, what are they doing out and about? And of course, Zayden, being the shadow master that he is, obviously probably sensed that she's nearby, so he tells him to go on ahead, and basically tells her, hey, y'all need to come out of that shadow, I already see you. And basically, Violet's facing saying, I'm just trying to figure out my odds here, whether or not I can survive this college or not. And Zayden tells her, you're supposed to focus on things that can kill you so you can find ways not to die. I can barely count the number of people in this quadrant who want you dead, either as revenge against your mother or because you're really just good at pissing people off. But you're still here, defying the odds. It's been rather surprising to watch, really. So he's finding this all very, very amusing. And basically gives her advice like, look, the right way isn't the only way to accomplish something. And he tells her to figure it out. We'll pause right here. Zayden is being more of a friend right now to Violet than Dane is. He's basically giving her advice like, look, yeah, there are people here who are trying to kill you, but you're still here and you're still fighting, and I'm quite surprised to see that. But listen, yeah, you're small, yeah, you're tiny, but you can find a way. You're smart enough, you're smarter than everybody here, and you can figure it out. So, we go on to chapter 11. We find out Violet doesn't leave, and you know what? It's the day of assessment, the gauntlet day, and she's making her way up. And when she starts to slip and fall as the final obstacle, she grabs out two of her daggers and uses them as leverage and gets herself up and over. Now, one of the other wing leaders, Amber, well, her and later, I don't like her, but you'll find out later in a minute. But she basically goes off on her and says that is basically illegal. It's against the Codex rule. You know, you're supposed to get up here by your own wit. And it's like, but I brought these daggers with me across the parapet. They're a part of my uniform. They're a part of me. I can use whatever I want to get up this thing. And Zane's like, she's right. There's no rule against it. While there's no rule for it, there's no rule against it. So it's allowed. So basically, everyone in her squad, they all making up the gauntlet. And that's how she did that. And that's what you gotta do. And that was Aiden was saying. The right way isn't always it's the only way. Now, is it ethical that she basically got help yet again to get herself up? But again, when it comes to war, all bets are off, really. As long as you get up and over. Like Brennan says, it doesn't matter about the times. It doesn't matter about being first, even if you're last. As long as you get up there, it's okay. Now, Violet wasn't the fastest, but she wasn't the slowest either. So, she made it up. They all did. And now we move on to chapter 12. So basically, chapter 12 describes presentation day. It's basically the easiest day that there can be on the Writer's Quadrant. Which, I mean, in a Dragon College, War College, Best Guys, War College, Dragon College, and everything. Now I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. Back to focus. Presentation day is basically the same thing. It's basically dragons that have agreed to a bond have lined up on either side of a field, and basically you walk through the valley and you basically are being judged harshly by these dragons. And basically they're sniffing you out. They're checking you out and seeing, is this the person I want to bond to? Is that the person I want to bond to? And basically it's overall, it's just a total, I guess you can say it's a beauty pageant for writers. That's one way to look at it. But anyway, if a dragon, though, finds disfavor with you, they will burn you where you stand. So they basically line up according to their squad. So it's her, Rhiannon, Riddick, Sawyer, and a couple other people in the squad as well, too. And they're walking through the field. And basically, one of the other leaders basically tells them to talk to each other. Basically, let the dragons know more about your personality. Try and stay calm. Don't seem too nervous, because if you find disfavor, they will blow you. And basically, try and stay spaced out, too, because if they find disfavor with one, they might just burn you both just to get rid of you both. So as they're going on the field, they're talking. Her and Rihanna are talking about Rihanna's nephew, she misses him and all that. And all of a sudden, cadet of forever is getting a little apprehensive, getting nervous, and then one of the dragons, sensing that, burns him. They all stop and wait for the fire to simmer down, and they continue onward. And then out of nowhere, Riddick stares and looks at her and goes, "Violet." And two green dragons have approached her now, and they're sniffing her. And so she's like, trying hard to stay calm, stay focused, because green, to me, if any other dragon were doing this, it's best that it was a green, because green dragons are very, very intelligent, and they're just curious. And so basically they're sniffing at her chest area, and basically this chest, or her vest, basically is what they're sniffing at. And the vest is very special, because it's basically her sister's dragon, Tiny, who's also a green dragon. It's her scales. It's the dragon's scales. And that's what they're smelling. So that's why she tells them that, "Don't, you're just smelling my sister's dragon, Tiny." And so they're like, "Oh, okay." And they slowly back away and they continue onward. And so basically one little rude girl's like, "Wow, I thought they were going to eat you." And Violet's like, "Yeah, me too." And so it's like, and she starts dissing her and whatnot, dissing the dragons, which, not smart. Then all of a sudden she feels a blast of heat behind her, and the dragons basically have incinerated that person. And so they made it through, and that is presentation day. Mind y'all, that was the easiest day in the Writer's Quadrant. Now we are on threshing. Threshing is October 1st, for whatever reason. No matter what the day it falls on, it's October 1st, threshing. Basically, you go out into this field, and you are a bunch of dragons and a bunch of other cadets as well who are anxious to find their dragons, and you bond dragon, and then you bring him back to the flying field, bonded rider. Sounds simple, but no. So basically, you have to feel like this is your dragon. And that's the hard part. Like, how do I know that this is my dragon? How do I not know? So Violet's going along. She's meeting all these. She's not really meeting, but she's seeing all these dragons, and she just feels it in her heart that that's not my dragon. That's not my dragon. That's not my dragon. That's not my dragon. She comes across a couple of reds, and one red even looks at her like, "You're not my rider." He didn't say that, but by the expression that on the page, this isn't the writer. So she's starting to lose hope a little bit. Like, look, I've made it through all this, and now I'm not going to get to bond a dragon. Like, that's kind of disheartening. So, backing up a little bit, during the presentation day, there was a little golden dragon that they saw, and one of the people was mocking it, like, "Oh, it's a little yellow, small little dragon. Like, that's not yellow, it's golden." And so this dragon now appears here again, and it's kind of going off in the distance, whatnot. And so there's a group of them now. It's Jack, it's Orm, and it's Tynan, who's actually in her squad. And they're going to kill this little baby dragon. Now, just common sense. Why, oh why, oh why? This is where they are right now. It's a dragon breeding ground. So you idiots are going to go off and try and kill a very small dragon in a dragon breeding ground. What kind of sense does that make? These guys are all idiots, I gotta say. It's like Dumb and Dumber with these three. So Violet overhears this and like, no, you can't just go off and kill a dragon. So she, tiny little thing that she is, just full of courage, but so naive. She goes off and tries to defend the golden dragon. It's like, girl, you can barely defend yourself. And she's, holding her own for a minute there. And then all of a sudden, she looks back and Xaden Ryerson is in the bushes with his blue dagger tail. Which leads us to chapter 14. And for the first time, she's actually happy to see him. But, however, he's an upperclassman. So even though he sees what they're doing is wrong, he can't interfere with threshing at all. So he has to kind of stand on the sideline. He's kind of like giving her hints. Hey, do this, do that, go this way, go this way. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this kind of dark shadow comes across the field. And they all stop and look up. And it is a big black dragon. Now pause right quick. Going back to Professor Kiori's lesson about dragons and how to approach them, they did talk about a black dragon. A black dragon is basically the most powerful of all of them. They are the most cunning, they are the most lethal, they are the most smartest. There is no outsmarting a black dragon. But this particular black dragon actually didn't agree to bond this year. So for it to show up out of nowhere, it's kind of like, okay. But it was there because it was protecting the little golden dragon. And everyone's looking up and staring at it, and it kind of looks down at Violet, and it goes, "Hey, Silver One, move to the side." Because there's Violet's, silver-tipped hair. And she's like, "Me?" He's like, yeah, you, move. And so he basically blows fire and kills Tynan. Jax runs off like a little kid, and Orm just passes out on the field. A very comical sight, I will have to admit. And then all of a sudden, this black dragon stops and yields and looks over at her. Now, Xaden and the Zegale have flown off. And so now she's alone on this field with this big old black dragon and this little golden dragon. And she's scared, naturally. And so it looks at her and it tells her, like, look, you're bleeding. Why are you bleeding? Stop that. So she binds her arms and whatnot. And then looks at her and is like, kill the enemy at your feet. Which is Orm, because he's passed out. And he's like, wait, I can't. And she just looks at her, I can't kill an unconscious man. And he's like, he would kill you, but they're given a chance. And this is one of the reasons why Violet is one of my favorite characters of this book. And she just looks at him like, look, that is a judgment on his character, not mine. Yes, he probably would. In this situation first, if Violet was passed out and Orm was standing over her, he would probably just kill her. Wouldn't even think twice about it. But that's Violet's good character. I'm not going to kill him because he's unconscious. I would rather do it face to face, man to woman, battle it out. And so the dragon looks at her like, okay, let's go. And so she's like, wait. How you know my name? So finally she kind of calms down after this whole scene. Wait, do you just talk to me? What's going on here? Wait. And then she finally figures it out. And honestly, the reader, we figure it out. This black dragon is choosing our little Violet girl. Now, when we compare the size of this thing, think about the redwood forestry that grows in California tall. That's what I'm saying. This thing is massive. It is a freaking dinosaur of a dragon, if you will. And I gotta say, he is very snarky. His age is roughly like middle age for dragons of his type. And so Violet's freaking out, like, wait, you're choosing me, you're picking me. And he's just basically rolling his eyes, looking at her like, this is one of my favorite lines. And to think I almost forgotten how loquacious humans are. And basically tells her, like, look, just get on my back. And then she realizes, holy crap, you're choosing me. And she's basically trying to explain to him all the reasons why he shouldn't choose her. It's like, boo boo, I've already chosen you. My voice is in your head. I'm choosing you. Get on my back. And so she tries to explain to him, look, you don't want me, you don't choose me. And it's like, dude, if you don't get on my back, I will burn you. And basically, I'm not going to tell you again. And so she's like, you know what, point taken. And so she starts to climb up this huge freaking dragon. And make it sit. And basically, after she sits on what is known as the pommel, which is it's where the neck meets his shoulders. And basically, they grip this on to help keep them stable onto the dragon. And as the dragon stands back up and gets ready to take off, he states, my name is Ternanok, son of Mutidim and Forliquim, descendant of the cunning Dunham line. That's the great thing about fantasy. All these names is like, huh? It took me a minute to pronounce all those. Hope I did it right. But yeah. And basically she's, again, snarky little attitude. But I'm going to assume that you'll probably won't remember that when we reach the field. So Tarn will do until I inevitably have to remind you. So this dragon's name is Tarn. Violet has a dragon. And so they take off into the air. And of course, is it a gallant, leap into the air and she's riding off on this thing? No. The first thing she does is that she falls off this freaking large dragon. So that, my friend, is threshing. We're on chapter 15 now, in case you didn't know. And so basically, we start with a quote from the Book of Brennan. That basically, just because you've been threshed, basically you fall into a dragon, doesn't mean you'll survive the flight to the flight field. Because, all of these things that they're doing is a test to see if you are worthy enough to be a drag rider. Just because you've been chosen doesn't mean you know how to stay on your dragon. Because sometimes these dragons aren't going to be as kind and loyal. And they'll just let you fall right off. Hey, you're not going to be able to keep your seat. I'm going to let you fall off. Find me somebody else. Now, poor thing, she has fallen off this huge dragon. She's falling into midair. And Taryn catches her. Surprisingly enough. Now, typically in any setting, like I said, they'll just let her fall. But Taryn's different. He's snarky with it. He's got a little quippy little attitude, but you can already tell there's a strong bond there. Like, he doesn't want to see her fall. He really wants to help her. And so, as she's falling, she's screaming. And basically, Taryn's like, you are making us look bad. Will you please stop it? And he's snapping at her. Like, you're making me look bad in front of my people. Stop all this screaming. Like, I'm here, I got you. And it's like, Violet's like, he is one of the deadliest dragons in the world, and he has to catch me as I am falling off of it. Like, oh my goodness, what am I doing here? And so basically, the whole ride to the flight was just scolding her. Like, look, didn't you do strength training? Didn't you practice? And basically, she's like, look, I'm sorry. I just didn't think I would make it this far to bond a dragon. And so Taryn's sorry. She's like, you know what? I didn't think I would survive this long either. So we got a lot of that in common. And so you get these kind of warm, kind of fuzzy moments between Taryn and Violet, her now bonded dragon, and she's like, crap, I have a bonded dragon. I have a freaking dragon. And so she's just repeating that over and over again in her head. And so she's like, and to Violet, she just asked him, like, look, why me? Of all the riders in the quadrant, why did you pick me? Dragons like ferocity and strength from their riders, and that's what she's always been told. And so Taryn's like, oh, please, human, tell me, a dragon, what I'm supposed to value in my rider. Just dripping with sarcasm. He does not hold back. And so again, they make it to the flight field. They show off, hey, yes, this is my bonded dragon. And before they land, Taryn tells her why. And he basically stated, you defended the smallest with ferocity, and strength of courage is more important than physical strength, since you apparently need to know before we land. And I agree. It's one thing to have the physical strength to do something. It doesn't mean that you'll always be able to go into battle full just valor and able to just take on the dragon in this case, or whatever mastermind you need. You need strength of courage. I think what's most interesting in this world is that it very much reflects our world in the fact that, it does value things like courage, like compassion and whatnot, and it does show that like things of that nature are more important than actual just being physically strong. It's one thing to have the muscles and all that, it's another thing to have the knowledge and how to use your muscles for good in the world. Cheesy, I know, but hey, if you've been a fan of this channel, you know cheesy is my thing. And then she realizes, wait, you didn't say that out loud. I'm hearing you in my head. He's like, yep, smartest of your gear. And basically, you will basically never be alone again. Which, I mean, that's so sweet. Then it's like, wait, never again? You know everything that's going on in my head? That's a very close relationship. Yeah. So basically, she dismounts. She goes over to the reader, roll keeper, basically. And but before she does that, she dismounts and she sees a little golden dragon, which basically has been keeping up with them as they made it to the flight field. And all the other dragons around, they're roaring and happy to see Terran, but they're looking at his rider like, that's who you chose? And they're muttering and sputtering and going on. And basically, she's like, look. Terran's like, look, don't even worry about it. I chose you. I wanted you. I picked you. So there you go. So the little golden dragon's looking up at her. Is like, hey, I'm happy to be here. So wait, hold on. You're not supposed to talk to anyone but your rider. You know that, right? And so she looks at her like, okay. She doesn't get it yet. More on that in a minute. So Violet goes over to the roll keeper and tells her the name of the dragon. And then the little golden one's like, and in Darna Urim. And she looks back at him like, what? Now here's the thing. This is very important to note. It's one dragon, one rider. That's how it's always been forever since the beginning of Navarre. This is the first time in Navarre's history 2 dragons have chosen one rider. So yes, Violet Sorrengail, the most unlikeliest of riders to bond a dragon, not only bonded the biggest, strongest dragon, one of the deadliest in the world, she bonded a second one, Darna Urim, the little golden dragon that she saved during threshing. If y'all didn't know this, now allow me to reintroduce my girl Violet. She is 100% that bitch. Yes, she bonded not 1 but 2. She got 2 dragons. Yes, she did. And as she's now, mind you, after her fight with Tynan and whatnot, she did get injured. So she's off at the healer's little tent they got set up on the field, getting bandaged up and whatnot. And all the generals are arguing that that's not fair. 1 rider, 1 dragon, not 2. But again, this is the rule of dragons, not the rule of people. So, I mean, who's to tell a dragon what to do? That's kind of a common theme here that you keep. And Violet, even herself, is shocked. She has 2 dragons, not 1 but 2. That's my girl right there. 100% that bitch. That's why we love her. So Violet goes back to Terran and Darna. She's like, look, they're not going to let us do this. She's like, wait, that is not for humans to decide. It's for the Imperium to decide. And so, wait, what's the Imperium? It's basically a code of law among the dragons. And then we understand now, this book series is called the Imperium series. So it's really all about the dragons. It's about how they feel. And that's why I feel Fourth Wing gets right in some way that a lot of other fantasy books don't, is that we get to hear the dragon's point of view. Many times in fantasies, what I've noticed is that the dragons are kind of just there. They're just doing whatever the writers want them to do or not want them to do. And oftentimes when they do things that are very out of character, we're like, wait, why? And so they kind of law about it. Like, oh, it's a dragon, it does whatever it wants. But in this book, we get the dragon's voice. We get to hear their personalities come through. We get to hear more about their laws, how they come up with their laws, how they enforce their laws. And so I found that what makes this so much more interesting about the bond between rider and dragon. That much I like. And as Professor Kiori even says, nothing about who dragons choose is up to the humans. It's the dragons really point of view, because these huge, massive creatures. No, it's not up to humans. No, you can't decide which dragon you want to choose. If both these dragons want her, then what's it to you? That's how I felt. I'm like, no. When the generals are all arguing about absolutely not, that's not fair. It's like, that's not up to you. It's up to the dragons, boo-boo. So all the dragons go off to the Vale, which is where their home is, and basically have a discussion about this. And while they do, all the riders who bond the dragons are running across the field. Basically, first you're trying to find their people. Like, Did they make it through? We find out that Rihanna made it through. We find out that Riddick made it through, and Sawyer. Now, Sawyer is a first year repeating his year. So basically, Sawyer, what happened in his first year, he didn't bond a dragon. He remained an unbonded rider throughout his first year, and decided to repeat his year. Now, going through this once is rough, but he decided to go through this twice, and the second time he managed to bond a dragon. So we're all just like, yay, we're happy for him. And of course, Debbie Daughter Dane shows up and just ruins the whole thing. I'm not gonna lie, at this point in the book, I'm really starting to greatly distaste and despise this person. I mean, yeah, they're childhood best friends, but oftentimes the people that grow with you can't always go with you. And that's true of Dane here. He is constantly downing our girl Violet. Violet, who came out of nowhere, who was the least likely to bond a dragon, came back with 2, and still he tries to just diminish her accomplishments. And it's like, dude, I want to punch you in your face. Like, shut up already. I'm not gonna lie, the level of hate that Dane gets online is super, super funny. I love the TikToks of all the Dane hate. I mean, he only gets worse from here, I find. But again, it's so sad. It's like they used to be such good friends, and it's like he's so stuck on who she used to be. He can't see how she has grown, how she has evolved, and he refuses to evolve with her. Like, if that was a word, but you understand what I'm saying. It's irritating. Like, why can you see the growth and changes that you've gone through, but then turn around and deny me that same right to grow and evolve and change? Yes, I started out as a scribe, but now I'm a freaking dragon rider. So let's pause right there. Let's think. Going back to the beginning of this book, was General Lilibeth Sorrengill right for pushing her daughter into the riding squadron? Because mind you, she is the general of this college, general of the army really, but she's the general of this college, so she's there on campus, and so she sees her daughter coming towards her, and she doesn't talk to her obviously because, ranking and whatnot, but was she right? Was she a real villain? Because oftentimes she kind of is painted as a villain in Violet's eyes because of this, but she came back with 2 dragons. I mean, come on. There was a reason her mother pushed her into the riding squadron. What was the reason? I don't fully know that yet. But we're going to pause right there. We're going to do a quick little commercial, take a little break, take a little breather, get up and stretch. This has been a long episode, and we're not even halfway through it, y'all. So just stay tuned. We'll be right back. It's that time of the month. Aunt Flo is in town. Y'all know what I mean. Especially the ladies of the podcast. These are all the euphemisms that we use to state that your period is on its way. I am a woman who used to suffer from extremely painful periods that kept me up at night, kept me in bed so I couldn't go to work. That was all changed, and that's when I found some main supplements. Our bodies fluctuate from day to day, week to week, month to month, so we need natural supplements that help support these hormones. And the supplements that they offer are the Daily Hormone Balance, which provides more energy, better moods, reduced cravings. Key ingredients include grape seed extract, passion flower, B vitamin complex, magnesium, and zinc. There is also the PMS period support, which you use before your period to avoid bloating, have reduced cramping, and fewer mood swings. Key ingredients include green tea and vitamin D. There's also the urinary tract cleanse and protects your urinary system. Key ingredients are your cranberry juice extract, and then there's also the prebiotic for women for better gut health, soothes the intestines, and reduces bloating. And lastly, there's the menopause essentials, which helps to have fewer hot flashes, better sleep, and more stable moods. Me personally, I use the daily supplement and the PMS period supplement. I must say, for the first time in my life since starting my period at the age of 15, both these supplements have helped reduce my pain ridiculously. I no longer get those stabbing pains anymore. So obviously I use the daily supplement on a daily basis, and then 2 to 3 days before my period is set to start, I use the PMS support to help with those uncomfortable mood swings and cravings that we all get during that time. I owe all this wonderfulness to Semaine. So for more information about it, or to order your first bottle, go to SemaineHealth.com. That is SEMAINE Health, HEALTH.com. So head on over to that website and use the promo code WellnessThroughReading to get 20% off your first bottle. Periods are normal, but the pain should not be. Alright, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get back into the episode. Okay, let's dive back in, shall we? So, where were we? Yes, Dave the Debbie Downer has taken Violet away from her happy, glorious moment and basically ostracized her, and basically saying, you have to choose the smaller one, because the smaller one is the safer one of the two. And Violet's like, look, I don't want to choose. First of all, I can't choose them. They chose me. That's how this works. Big old dragon, human being. They chose me. And Dane's like, look, what happened? How did this happen? How did you bond two freaking dragons? And so basically she tells him about what happened with her, Titan, and Jag, and all that. And then she tells him that Ryerson showed up. And so then he's like, Ryerson showed up? It's like, he interfered with Thresh. He's like, no, he's just still on the side. Like, no, you don't understand. This is bad. This is really, really bad, because Xaden will get you killed. And so I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Why are you doing this again? So basically, this time, most of the time, he has no point in this, no point in his worrisome ways. But this point, yes, he does have a point. Because he tells her that Terran and Sigale, so Terran is Violet's dragon, Sigale is Xaden's dragon. Terran and Sigale are a mated pair. In this universe, mated pairs are basically two dragons who are forever eternally bonded to each other. They make eggs together, they love each other, they cannot be separated for more than like a couple of days at a time, otherwise both their strengths diminish. And because of that, if their riders cannot be separated. So yeah, in a weird, twisted way, Violet's life now is forever pounded to Xaden Ryerson. Let me state that another way. Violet Sorrengail, the daughter of Lilibeth Sorrengail, who oversaw the execution of Xaden Ryerson's father while Xaden Ryerson watched, is now forever bonded to Xaden Ryerson through her dragon Terran and Sigale's bond. Talk about extreme messiness, close proximity, all that mess. She's like, crap. This guy hates my guts, and we are stuck together forever now because of our dragons. Which, pause real quick. Now, interesting enough, dragons have access to a rider's full memory, so basically Terran knows of the tension that's between these two, but yet he still chooses to bond her. Interesting, don't you think? It's very interesting how the dragons think and how they choose their bonded riders and whatnot, because Terran and Sigale both know the tension that's between the two, but yet they still chose them. Very interesting. More about that in a couple episodes, but let's go back to this. So then out of nowhere, Xaden, being the shadow master that he is, comes out of the shadows and goes, look, what did I do? What did I do? So basically, Dane's like, don't you know what he's done? He's like, well, what did I do? He's like, you interfere with Thresh? And he's like, no, I didn't. I did not ask for this, nor did I want this. I am just as angry as both of you are. And even if I had interfered with Violet, you say that she's your best friend. Wouldn't you have done the same thing if you saw her in a situation where she's in danger? Wouldn't you have bent the rules for her? And so Dane goes quiet. And so Violet's kind of standing there like, why aren't you answering? Like, you say you care about me the way that you do. If you see me in danger, wouldn't you do something? And then, being the wing leader that he is, he commanded his squad leader to answer him. And he basically said, no. Had I seen you in danger, I would have just let it happen. I would have walked away. Okay. This is the point in the book where me as the reader, I have washed my hands of Dane. Yes, they were childhood best friends, but the fact of the matter is, you see me in danger, and even though it goes against the rules, you're not going to bend those rules to save my life. You are anal as hell, and honestly, you were never really my friend to begin with. The fact of the matter is, Xaden is an enemy, and even though he couldn't interfere, he was still on the sidelines, still giving her advice on how to fight these guys. You wouldn't have done that. you would have just let her fall. I lost a lot of respect for Dane. See, this is how angry I get whenever I talk about this fool. I lost a lot of respect for him as a character, and honestly, he is on my do not like list. He is on that list, and I don't think, at this point with me, I actually wrote on here, he is on my do not like list, and he will never get off it. I wrote that right there in the margins of the book. And Violet's starting to see it too, like, dang, like, you're supposed to be my best friend that I've known since childhood, and you wouldn't risk bending the rules to save me? So she's starting to see that too. And Xaden's saying it from the beginning. He's basically saying, look, our lives are bonded now, so we have to work together to keep each other alive. Not just here in the quadrant, but once we leave the quadrant as well too. Because now you have 40 other unbonded riders. Mind you, there was 100 dragons willing to bond, and like 140-ish riders wanted to bond. Only 100 bonded, roughly. And there is now 41 unbonded riders who will do anything, who are seething with jealousy right now, watching these riders, and will do anything to bond a dragon. And mind you, their bonds right now are still pretty weak because they're still new. They're still getting to know each other. It's kind of like dating, if you will. You're dating a dragon. And so, an unbonded cadet might just kill somebody to bond the dragon. Because this dragon could look at it like, wow, you defeated him, but not that. I might just want to bond with you. And so now, Violet Sword and Gale is enemy number 1. Not just to Jack, not just to Orphan, if he's still alive at this point, but to 41 unbonded cadets. And so Violet looks at him like, what? That's our problem now because we're bonded. So now, Xaden Ryerson is in the business of keeping his sworn enemy alive. Awkward. And this is what I love about my girl Violet. She just shrugs it off, and Xaden's looking at her like, why aren't you freaking out about this more? You're about to be hunted. And she's like, more please. This is a typical Wednesday for me, okay? I've been hunted since I started on this campus. What's 41 more haters, you know? And when you start to ascend the ladder, you're gonna get some haters. And now she got some more haters. So hey, she's doing something right. That's how I feel. Word to the wise, to the listener, haters are not a bad thing. People who distract you are not a bad thing. Haters are your motivators. These are the people, because if you have a group of people hating on you, that means you are doing something right. Not that you're doing something wrong. Haters are gonna hate. Let them do their job. That's their job, to hate. So let them do it. Your job is to thrive and succeed. Their job is to hate. Let them do it. I mean, it costs you nothing. It costs them everything. So let them hate. So then we get to the closing ceremony of threshing. And so basically, they all standing in front of the dragon. The dragons have come back. They made a decision. You know what? She's going to keep up those dragons. Ain't nothing we can do about it. And so all the riders who just newly bonded to the dragons, they step out in front of the dragons. The dragons basically blow hot fire on them. Not to burn them, but with fire, but to mark them with their magic, essentially. It is their relic. It's basically their dragon saying that this is my rider, and this is basically where they're going to channel all their powers from. This is where their signet power is going to come from. This is how they just are a way of connecting dragon to rider, physically, not just mentally. And so now she has these two, and her signet isn't, her relic is on her back, and is of one, the black gold dragon, which is represents Terran, and then in the middle is a golden dragon, which represents Andarna. And it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and Dane's like, wow, it's so pretty. And then he looks her in the eye and tells her, you know how much I feel about you, you know how much I care about you, and then he kisses her. And it's not like a hero's kiss where it's like all magical, wonderful. It's really awkward and uncomfortable. It's very much like, I wish we hadn't done this kind of kiss. And she's like, at one point, this is what that she really wanted. And now she's kind of like, ick. I don't want this at all. Oh no. I'm devastated. No. I honestly didn't care that she didn't like the kiss. I honestly didn't like Dane at all. And this point, Dane is weird because in the beginning, I really wanted her and Dane to have that because, childhood friends that become lovers that work through it. But honestly, He has been her biggest detractor since being here. She has bonded to Dragon, and yet still he claimed that she's not going to make it. I just want to punch him in the face. I do. And it's only going to get worse from here, child. We are not even halfway through the book, and my girl has bonded a dragon. She's survived the parapet. She is working it on the mat. She is made up the gauntlet. She survived presentation day. She survived threshing. What more does this girl need to do to prove that she is worthy to be here? Because so many did not make it. She made it. But hey, haters gonna hate and detractors gonna detract. Do the bit like Taylor Swift and just shake it off, baby. Shake it off. Whew! We have covered a lot of ground this episode. We have covered Violent Sorengale. We have covered the land of Navarre. We have covered the politics. We've touched on that briefly. We've touched on Basgiath, War College, the Riders Quadrant, the Healers Quadrant, the Scribe Quadrant, the Infantry Quadrant. We have covered, lovers to enemies. We have covered best friends who may not be your best friend. We've covered new friends. We've covered so much ground so far, and honestly, we are not even halfway through. But unfortunately, y'all, I gotta end the episode here. But come back with me next week, and I promise you, I will complete my review part 2 next week. And as always, I like to end my podcast with a quote, and this quote comes from The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and it reads, "Our dragon without its rider is a tragedy. Our rider without their dragon is dead." Article 1, Section 1, the Dragon Riders Codex. And on that, I thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Wellness Through Reading. I am your host, Tanisha. Please stay tuned. Follow with me here on Spotify or wherever you get into your podcast. Also, I have an Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube channel. So, look me over there as well. And until next time, I wish you all good wellness and good reading.